Greetings, fam. I go by the name of Dxtr Spits. I am the mindful adventurer. I'm an artist, I'm a speaker, I'm a traveler, and I am a mindfulness and mindset coach. And today we are going to talk about why it is important to learn how to meditate and also a process to make it a little easier. So if you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of meditation. One of the major reasons for this is because it was one of the tools that helped me to change my relationship with depression that I was experiencing. It helped me to better work with the thoughts that were going on within my mind. I had a lot of negative self-talk. It still pops up here and there, but helped me to reframe and reshape a lot of that. And last but not least, it has helped me to live more presently and fully in life. I've gotten to places of burnout, being overly stressed, not really living in the moment, just being on autopilot day in, day out. And meditation has been one of those things that has helped me to slow down and really live with life richly. So let's dive right in. So I'm going to share with you all a 3-step process, all right? And the reason why I'm calling this a process, it is a process for us to reframe how we think about meditation and mindfulness before we jump into the action of doing it. You can look forward to meditation videos, to affirmation things that'll come after this, but I wanted to start here because I think it's so crucial for us to first shift our relationship with how we look at mindfulness to better allow it to become a habit within our life. The number one thing in the process that I want us to understand is a better definition of what meditation and mindfulness is. The way that I would define it, we're going to learn how to do so simply by first doing something tremendously strenuous, joking, but I'm going to ask you to just raise your hand and drop it back down, and raise your hand and drop it back down, and raise your hand and drop it back down. Now, bring your attention to your hand and raise your hand and drop it back down. Bring your attention to your hand, raise it and drop it back down. Did you notice anything different when I said to bring your attention to your hand? I look at that as mindfulness. Just that simple moment, that simple effort of bringing our attention to the present moment. So we might have been drifting somewhere else in thought, and for that moment, we brought our attention to our hand to fill it in space and time. Now, why is that important? Because quite often, especially with the devices and things that we have today, we are very rarely present with the moment. Some data and stats will show that we're present less than about 50% of the time within our life. But if we don't know what's going on with our mind and body at any given moment, we're a lot more likely to fall into cravings and to habits that we don't like, to numbing, sensation chasing, all of these things like that. So that's the first piece that I would say is mindfulness, just learning to bring the attention to the present moment, okay? And on the flip side of that, I would call meditation kind of the going to the gym of mindfulness, which is essentially flexing that muscle of keeping the attention in the present moment. We may do so by focusing on our breathing, maybe by focusing on sound. We may do so by focusing on a nurturing figure. There's a lot of different ways that we can go with it, but that's just the basis and core essence. And why I consider that maybe a first pillar or a shifting is because that definition, I think, can be a lot lighter than putting a lot of weight on. It's going to shut off my thoughts. It's going to be this. I'm going to automatically be relaxed. Way more simple. We're starting with just the basics of present moment, being right here, right now. The second pillar, or the second part of reframing that I would like us to develop, is to know that your thoughts are not going to shut off. It is a common misconception and a setup for failure if someone is telling you, I'm going to learn how to meditate so my thoughts are going to shut off. It's never going to work. Our brains developed in environments where we needed to keep ourselves safe. Maybe there was a tiger in the woods. Maybe there was whatever type of dramatic things going on where we needed to bring our attention. So the brain is literally trained to try to pick up, to think, to focus on the stimuli that are going on around it. So the best thing that we can do in life and with our thoughts is to learn how to be with them. We are not trying to shut off thoughts. We are trying to learn how to be more present with them no matter where they are. So that's the second piece of reframing that I think is crucially important, because I think a lot of people can get discouraged if they go into meditation and mindfulness thinking, my thoughts are going to shut off. It may happen. We may get better at being more relaxed or being able to watch our thoughts with more detachment, but it probably isn't going to happen right away. Number 3, the last major pillar in this process of reframing that I think is so crucially important is to understand that this is going to be a process. It is a small step-by-step process, and cultivating a state of mindfulness and being more present is not something that's going to happen overnight. There's a reason why there are monks that sit in temples and do this for years and years on end to try to get better with the mind. We are just trying to learn how to be a little more present with life. And in this busy, overstimulated world, that is something that can be harder and harder to do. So we have to be patient with ourselves, understand that this is a process and that it's going to be baby steps for developing our mindfulness, just to take some of that pressure off. So these 3 tools for reframing our relationship with mindfulness, again, is to understand the simple basis of bringing ourselves to the present moment, understanding that meditation and mindfulness is not going to shut off our thoughts, and then understanding that it is a process for developing that state of being that we talked about in that first step. So be patient with yourself. So now, why don't we just try a simple breathing meditation so that we can get more in tune with the mind and the body. You can follow along, you can close your eyes with me, you can awkwardly watch me on the screen, whatever you want to do. This will be very short and simple. So let's just tune in and do a light meditation. So I would invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable in doing so. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can bring your gaze down to the floor. And just take a moment to arrive in your seat. And what I mean by that is to feel your feet or your body present on whatever surfaces that are supporting you. Just feel the surfaces that support you to the best of your ability, just to really be here for a moment. And then I would invite you to try and find a place where your breath feels alive. And by that, I just mean a place where you can feel the breathing comfortably. Maybe that's within the tummy or the chest or the nose. And just find the breath, not trying to do too much with it, just observing. And when your mind drifts, as it inevitably will, let's just see if we can notice that we are thinking, maybe even provide that label to say, I'm thinking, and return back to your breath. If the mind is very busy, it can be easy to get caught up in the story. But all we are trying to do is find our breath and stay with it. Not with rigidity, but with compassion. Again, when the mind drifts, as it inevitably will, just gently return to the breathing. I would invite you to take a few more breaths, slower on the exhale, just to get really familiar with where the mind and body is at this moment. And when you're ready, you can return back to the room. Well, welcome back, you beautiful being. Guess what? You're essentially a monk now. You don't even have to do anything else. JK. But I hope you enjoyed the sit as well as some of the tips about reframing meditation and mindfulness. I hope that you've stayed till the end. If so, please give a like and a subscribe and the little bell notification thing so that you can know when these meditations and insightful things release. I will be doing a lot more content in this form as well as daily affirmations, some different coaching tips and other things. If you ever want to get in touch with me about that, you can always find a link in the bio. But thank you, you beautiful being, for being a part of this experience today. And take care, be as mindful as possible and less petty. At least that's what I'm telling myself every day.